So if you saw my last review, I did the Caran Neo oil pastels, the regular OG oil pastels from Caran. But they did send me their brand new oil pastels. Now this video is not sponsored. I am not sponsored by Caran. They just wanted to send them to me. And I said yes because I love their Neo colors and I really wanted to see what this one was about. What is this? These say wax oil pastels, which is not something you necessarily see, but let's go ahead and open it up. Look at this. Swiss made. That's a fancy box. I might keep that box. They also sent me a little card, which is really nice. Check that out. For starters, it's a really fancy box. Got some sturdy plastic. Okay. Ooh, that's a nice box. I like that box. A booklet. Y'all know I love me some booklets. Okay, brand new. Kind of stinks a little bit. It does not smell that nice. So it does look like so far they only have 48. Supposedly these are supposed to be like, for sure, 100% light fast. But I've used a lot of professional art brands that say they're light fast and they're completely trash. So, you know, light fast doesn't mean jack shit to me, but this is what they look like. Off the bat, I love the fact that they have like this little peel away wrapping, almost like their Neo colors. Also right off the bat, these feel like Neo colors. These feel like crayons. What the hell? This is the oil pastel side by side. They're actually very similar. I would say exactly the same size, but this is just a different shape. Let's go ahead and do a quick swatch with this blue. Oh, that's hard as a rock. It's hard, but it's pigmented. Does it blend? Barely. So it's a wax oil pastel. Y'all, these, what the hell? Let me just show you real quick. This is their oil pastel, right? It's you know, very pigmented, very creamy, juicy. These are the wax oil pastels. Still very pigmented, but you can't blend it. That's different. These are my Neo colors. Let me grab a blue. You know, not crazy similar, but not really that different either. Okay, you have to press really, really hard with the Neo colors. It still gives the same pigment type and there's no transfer. This, you don't have to press as hard to get that. Ooh, I'm excited to use these. And my bad if you were hoping for like a swatch video. Y'all could probably find a million of those on YouTube. I am not that kind of person. I don't like to do swatches. And also, no shade, but what the hell is this color layout? Why these colors specifically in a set of 12? If you're gonna go out and buy a set of 12 oil pastels, I doubt these are the colors you're gonna want. And now I feel like I'm gonna have to use a ton of white just to make all these colors work, especially if they don't blend well. But we shall see. I guess you could just buy a stick and add to your collection and not have to buy sets, but I saw how much one of these are. They're like $3. That's crazy. That's great. Well, $3 for one of these. But these were free. Let's go ahead and try this out. So first impressions of these oil pastels is that they were hard. Even when doing the sketch, I noticed that they don't have that creaminess. Sometimes with oil pastels, when you use them for the first time, they'll have like this first layer that might be a little hard, but then you get down to the creaminess. This did not have that. This is going to be hard throughout. This is pretty much like a crayon. But I still have my hopes. They felt very similar to the Neo Color one, so I wasn't really upset about it. I just was a little nervous on how they would blend and layer. And since I started off with the darker color, I was nervous that the lighter colors weren't going to be opaque. And you can kind of see here that was kind of the case. The darker green that I put down was not blending that well with the brown or the yellow. It was definitely something I was trying to get used to, but also just try my best to have fun with it. But it was definitely a struggle getting over the learning curve of the texture of these oil pastels, or oil wax pastels. But anyways, I'll let y'all watch for a little bit. you might notice that it was a tug of war with these oil wax pastels, going back and forth from darker color, lighter color, and then tinting an area. And because there's no real red or real green or real, yellow, I feel like I had to go back and forth with different colors to try and make those colors, but also try to make the value look, make sense, or the contrast make sense, and the hue. And it was a lot. I think it was mainly user error, and also just me not having the colors that I'm used to. On the plus side, these were great scratch. Like I had scratches. These were great to scratch at. The colors underneath came out very vibrant and nice. Uh, no complaints there. Really nice. Oh, don't get me started on the background. So I had this idea of making like this blue circle background, something so nice and, you know, heavenly looking, but it yeah, it was not my cup of tea. I did not like how it looked at all. And I went back and forth with trying to fix it, maybe lightening the blue, darkening the blue. And what you'll see here in a second is I ended up just scraping away all the color. I did the background red too, or like a pinkish color, and I ended up just scraping all that away and filling it up with these like white spirals just to add like a texture look to it. I'll let y'all be the judge, but I think it looks better than just doing the plain blue, but I'll let y'all watch. The drawing is done. Now let me get into my final thoughts and what I really think about these wax oil pastels that are brand new from Caran. I made notes, which is not always a great sign. Let's start with the pros. And the first pro of these oil pastels being that they were free. And for me, that was a pro because I didn't have to spend my money on these. But as far as the pastels themselves, they are very saturated. They're very colorful. Mind you, this is just the 12 pack and I'm not getting a great grasp on the range of color and how they all interact with each other. But I feel like this is a good starting point to at least get a good opinion. One of the other good pros about these oil pastels is that they don't flake. They're not too crumbly. When you're blending, when you're really putting a lot down, they're fairly hard and moist. I really don't know the best way to put that, but they're creamy in a way. Let me just be honest. These are like a thicker version of the Caran Neo Color 1 and 2. In my opinion, not as nice as the Neo Color 1s because some of these colors are very translucent. The yellow especially. Another thing about these oil pastels is that they're slightly softer than the Neo Color 1 and the Neo Color 2, but they're not as opaque and they also don't layer as well. What is that about? These and these are pretty much the same thing. Let me be quick. They're pretty hard and pretty stiff, and you don't have to wipe them on yourself to get them clean like normal oil pastels, which is really nice. They don't really have a stickiness to them. They're not oily and greasy. So if you like using oil pastels, but you hate when your hands get all nasty, these will probably be your favorite thing because they don't make your hands nasty and sticky. Another pro to these oil pastels is that the paper around the oil pastel is easy to unwrap. Unlike the oil pastels of the same brand. I guess the main pro to these wax oil pastels is the fact that these are light fast. So I guess these will last for sure 100 years. Okay, I'm not. I'm gonna be dead by then, so I don't really care. And what confuses me the most is, if these are the brand new, proven light fast, then what are these doing? What is the true rating for everything else? Will these not last 100 years? Because these two products are pretty much the same thing. Caran, I love you. And I don't want to be ungrateful, because this is the first time I've ever received PR from a brand that I actually use and love of a brand new product. But like, honey, are we going to sit here and act like these two are different products? Because they're not. They're low-key the same. And if we really want to get technical about things, yes, these are proven light fast. These are also slightly more saturated in color and I feel like pigment than these are. These I feel have more of like a chalky appearance compared to these. Like if we take a very strong blue of both of these, this one's gonna look a little bit more chalky, but be more opaque. Does that make sense? I love these. And I use them all the time. I still have a ton left. However, these, I feel like I would go through them a lot faster because they're slightly more soft, and also they're a little bit more translucent. Because these are marketed as wax oil pastels, I would assume that I would still be able to blend with my finger at least a little bit. No, you can't. At least for me and how I blend and my technique, I guess, these were damn near impossible to blend with your finger. And to be honest, you could barely blend within colors because these are such a strange texture. This piece took me a little too long. I did not enjoy making this because the texture of these were a bit of a learning curve. I wouldn't say that layering is completely impossible. I mean, you can definitely layer and blend out certain colors, but for the most part, it's really hard to find like a color that will be opaque on top of another color. Who chose these colors for the 12 pack? I'm not trying to get analytical here, but as a consumer, and if you're familiar with the Caran brand, you might have used these before. And if you love these, you might just want to try these out and get a 12 pack, which makes sense, right? But as a brand, if you're trying to convert the people who use these to start using these, this color arrangement is not going to be converting people. I want to talk to who thought this arrangement would be cute. Don't get me wrong, the colors are beautiful. I would end up using every single one. Why is there no true red in here? Why is there no green in? Why is this the color arrangement that you chose to try and turn people on to these? Not too much shade, because I know I do portraits and I know I like a certain range of colors and neutrals, but I feel like even people who do landscapes or even abstract stuff are like, this is the colors you're giving me? Really? Also, something I noticed about the finished piece is the wax bloom. I don't know what wax bloom is, scientifically, but what it does is it leaves like a cloudy bloom on top of your finished piece. A lot of people who use color pencils will have a sheen to it, but that's only if they buff it out. There's a lot of wax in these, obviously, because they're pretty hard and stiff, but wax bloom is the last thing I thought I would have to deal with oil pastels. At least oil pastels of this quality. You can kind of see the way I buffed it, it now looks really shiny. You see that glistening? That's after buffing it with my finger a little bit. Doing that kind of revived the darkness and the depth of some colors and sometimes the saturation. And it worked. I mean, the wax bloom is gone. I don't know if it's gonna reappear, but I don't always like a super shiny sheen to my artwork. If I don't buff it out, the colors are gonna be more matte, cloudy, and not as contrasty. If you have the money and you really wanna try these out, I would say go for it. I mean, they're a little different. This could be the love of your life. But if you don't have that much coin and you can afford a set of the Neo colors, get the Neo colors. They're not much different. And in my opinion, these are a lot more fun to use. I'm just saying. But that's pretty much it. My eyes twitching. A huge shout out and thank you to Caran for sending me these brand new wax oil pastels. And I hope this review doesn't taint our relationship. But yeah. That's it. And as always, thank you so much for watching. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, please let me know down below. If you have any suggestions on what I should do next, also let me know down below. I think I'm getting a headache.